Welcome to Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina, where number 20, South Carolina, is hosting our Florida State Seminoles in today's matchup. And today's matchup has a little twinge of revenge. Our starting tight end, Jaheim Bell, and one of our defensive ends, Gilbert Edmond, were players at South Carolina last year, so they are going to come in today's game with plenty of motivation. But other than that player motivation, we also have some conference stakes on the line. As you can see, both Florida State and South Carolina are in the thick of a very messy conference race at this point. Florida State is one of two teams with only one loss in conference, but South Carolina is still lurking with only two losses, and a win over Florida State would give them the tiebreaker. Now as we look at some of the team leaders for South Carolina, we can see that Spencer Rattler has had a very good season so far with 14 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions, so it doesn't look like he gives the ball away a lot, and we're going to have to make our own plays on defense if we want to get the ball back from them early and often. Juju McDowell averaging a healthy 4 yards a carry, but nothing too special there. And then Eddie Lewis is their leading receiver with over 500 yards receiving, so probably pretty close to on pace for about a 1,000-yard season. But with that being said, it's time for kickoff, and now Winston Wright is there to receive this kick, and he will let it go to the back of the end zone, and now the Florida State offense is back on the field. In the shotgun, Travis waiting the snap, hands off to Rodney Hill. He finds a little bit of daylight for 9 yards and sets Florida State up in a 2nd and 1 where they should be able to easily convert if they can just power ahead. In the pistol now, hand off to Benson, looking to get to the outside a little bit, but he is hit right before he can do that. And it'll now be a 3rd and 2 after the tackle for loss from Tonka Hemingway. What a great name on the defensive side. And now it's a 3rd and 2 from Florida State in the pistol look again, this time running the opposite direction. Benson trying to cut up, but can only find 1 yard. This South Carolina defense is not giving them anything easy early and now forces a Florida State punt on 4th and 1. Alex Mastromano able to boot this away and gets this down to about the 20-yard line, where Eddie Lewis, one of their big-time receivers, is able to get the ball, able to break free and get past the 50-yard line. And now South Carolina will start their opening drive in plus territory with Rattler in the shotgun. Play action pass to Joyner, who's able to break free from one tackle, but eventually taken down by Kalen DeLoach, and that will be a 4-yard gain to start their drive as they approach the 40-yard line. Rattler making a couple adjustments at the line before he rolls out to his left, sets his feet, and then throws a little off balance to Joshua Simon, the tight end, for 8 yards, but it may not have looked pretty, but that'll get them a 1st down. Another rollout in the opposite direction to the right, and right as he's hit, he hits Xavier Leggett for 13 yards. And Spencer Rattler looks incredibly impressive so far, very confident in his running of the offense. Here's Spencer Rattler now under center, able to get the ball off to Juju McDowell on a run for 6 yards, and he gives them a 2nd and 4 as this offense continues to roll. Snap and throw to Antwan Wells Jr., who breaks off a tackle and gets into the end zone, 17 yards on a score, and that will be Antwan Wells Jr.'s 8th touchdown of the season after that play. And now Florida State in a very familiar early hole, down 7-0. They're going to start this drive the way they ended the last one, with a run to Trey Benson as he gets 5 yards to start this one this time. Triple option look and a big pitch out to Keon Coleman, their wide receiver, gets 10 yards as he got moving very quick on the outside and just had one guy to beat. Snap to Travis. He rolls out to the right looking for a man, but does not make the throw. Instead just works his way upfield and gains 3 yards. Toafili in the backfield now with Travis. He takes the snap, hands off, and he will have some daylight up the middle, and he will get about 10 yards with his run as the Florida State offense is finding some room in the running game. Travis gets the snap with a safety bearing down on him, but finds Johnny Wilson on the outside for 12 yards, and the big 6'7" target comes in handy there and gives Travis an easy target when he was facing some pressure. Another run for Florida State. Benson on the counter for 7 yards, and that gets them to a 2nd and 3. Travis worked his way to the left and throws to the corner and finds a wide open Kyle Morlack, who used his big frame, created some space, and a beautiful on-target throw from Jordan Travis leads to a 7-7 tie, and they respond early with under 4 minutes to go in this first quarter. Handoff to Juju McDowell for the first play of the South Carolina drive, and he looks speedy there and gains 16 yards. And Juju McDowell is off to a nice start on the ground for South Carolina. Snap to Rattler. and he fires and finds Xavier Leggett on a similar play they found earlier in the last drive. That one for 13 yards as well. Over midfield again, and this is a handoff to McDowell. Shakes off 1 and 2, tackles before he is taken down for 4-yard gain. 2nd and 6, South Carolina now after that very strong run from a running back who only comes in at 5'9", but looks very good so far. Then he's going to run the opposite way. There is McDowell, and he is dropped for 4 yards again, and it'll be a 3rd and 2 for South Carolina, facing their first legitimate threat on 3rd down. Let's see if Florida State can respond. Run up the middle to Mario Anderson, and he will get nothing there as Shaheem Brown hits the gap and stops him short. But it will now bring up a very long kick for South Carolina. Looks to be about 55 yards. Don't know if the kicker has the leg for it, and the kick is up, and it is going to be good. And you can see Mike Norvell is just as surprised since he had his punt return unit on that one. Did not think he was going to get enough leg for it, but now that gives Florida State the ball back down 10-7, 2:06 to go in the first quarter. Shotgun look for Travis, and starting the drive the same way as they have been with 2 yards to Benson to the outside. Just trying not to have those negative plays that can deter a drive, and this time they do not protect Travis, and he is hit and cannot get the ball away cleanly. This time he throws into traffic, and lucky that isn't picked off, and you're in dangerous territory here that any kind of interception is going to lead to points. Luckily they're able to punt it away and give the ball back to South Carolina for their 1st and 10. Under center, Rattler hands off to McDowell. He gets 3 yards to bring up a 2nd and 7 now for South Carolina. They're in the shotgun again. Rattler looking to his left, fires to Antwan Wells, and he is blown up by Renardo Green, who does not give him any kind of space, and that will lead to a 3rd and 7. Backing up for Rattler, he hits Trey Knox at the sidelines, and he can't keep his feet in, and that will lead to a punt, and now a 1st down for Florida State as they start their next drive. Screen pass to Rodney Hill, loses his footing, and eventually is going to end up losing 4 yards, and they're in a 2nd and 14. Good pass to Deuce Spann over the middle, a guy who has not been as involved in the offense, but able to break free right there. A nice quick pass over the middle where he had plenty of room, and that will give us the end of the first quarter. It is a 10-7 ball game, very close and very competitive early. Defense is definitely struggling so far, but they're having some good moments where anything can happen, and now we're going to go into the second quarter with a 5-wide formation for Florida State and Jordan Travis. Travis runs out to the right, fires and hits his man Keon Coleman. That'll be his 2nd touch of the game, and 24 yards for the big man, and they got to keep on feeding him with how explosive he can be when he gets the ball in his hands. This will be a run to Benson. He has plenty of room up the middle and is able to work for 7 yards. Now in a little bit of a pistol look, they're going to fake the handoff. No, he's going to give it to Lawrence Toafili. That'll be 4 yards and a 1st down. Florida State is on the move as they're approaching and descending into South Carolina territory. Run to the outside for Benson, his best of the day, able to stay patient on the outside for 10. Roll out to the right for Travis. He's throwing it up to Jaheim Bell, the former South Carolina tight end. Skies and adjusts over the South Carolina DB with a beautiful catch on this one. His teammates are embracing him after that amazing catch in his former stadium. Jordan Travis just throws the ball up, and Jaheim Bell is able to adjust in midair and give his team a 14-10 lead, and that has got to feel good now. Here is Rattler and company. They're waiting here. Fakes the handoff, and he's going to take a little read option and able to work for 9 yards on this one. And he is now at a 2nd and 1 for the offense as they look to make their response. Handoff to McDowell, running really hard for a guy his size. It's very impressive. Rattler on the snap after 1st down. He's looking, he evades pressure and is able to find his man Leggett, but the pass is broken up, and a nice play from the Florida State DB to bring up a 2nd and 10, trying to get South Carolina off the field and gain some momentum defensively. Another under center snap and throw to Rattler, who just dumps it in the bucket to Eddie Lewis at a spot where the zone defense wasn't, and that's just an opportunity for Spencer Rattler to show off that great touch that he has. 1st and 10 for Rattler. Pressure coming from Florida State, and not only one man is open, but 2 as Antwan Wells fights away from his own man the ball and able to get 22 yards of his own. He's got 2 catches now after the touchdown earlier in the game as they enter the red zone. South Carolina in the pistol. Handoff to Juju McDowell, plenty of space, and he's able to run hard for 9 yards and brings up a 2nd and 1 as South Carolina is in prime position to get some kind of points here. Hopefully a touchdown to go ahead and take the lead over Florida State. Snap to Rattler, and he finds, almost had Eddie Lewis, but the Florida State DB dove in front of that one and made an outstanding play to bring up a 3rd and 1. Fakes the handoff to McDowell, is able to run hard down to the 2 or 3 yard line, and Rattler gets 7 yards to bring up a 1st and goal with about 2 yards to go, and they're in a nice heavy formation, seeing if they can power this one through. Handoff to Mr. Anderson, and Mario Anderson only gets 2 yards on the run. 2nd and goal now. Juju McDowell in the backfield, man in motion. Here's the snap. Rattler drops back, looking, and no, that one was almost picked off. That was Shaheem Brown in the passing lane to deflect that one. Could have been a big turnover, but now it's time for South Carolina. In the shotgun, easy slant pattern to Antoine Wells Jr., and that man just finds the end zone again. And now a 2nd touchdown in 2 quarters for Antoine Wells Jr. as he's having a fantastic day. 5 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. Florida State now has a chance to respond. This sounds incredibly familiar and is leading to a pretty fun game so far. And on this return, Winston Wright will only get 17 yards, but gets up very slowly. Triple option look, Trey Benson, he turns it up the field early, will just take the 3 yards that he can get, as he's had a pretty okay game so far. Nothing spectacular, but he's been operating the offense very well. Run to the outside for Benson. He's got room. He breaks a 2nd tackle, and that was 3 guys who tried to tackle him at his legs that he was able to evade. You'll see on this play, he makes such a good move to the outside. 1 guy misses his legs, 2 guys, and then he cuts upfield maybe a little too early, and the 3rd guy just gets some toes and stops him from reaching the end zone. Under pressure, and Travis delivered a throw that he clearly didn't want to, and the South Carolina defender was almost able to get in the passing lane. 5 wide now. Little screen look to Keon Coleman just slips him through there with some motion for 14 yards. And that will give Florida State a 1st down nearing the 40-yard line. Handoff to Benson, bouncing off defenders like a pinball for 3 yards. And now we get official word, Winston Wright gonna be out of this one for the rest of the game. He got banged up on that kick return, and we will not see him the rest of the game. Now, a throw to Keon Coleman, and he will get 6 of the 7 needed, and gives Florida State a 3rd and 1 trying to convert. Here's Rodney Hill, and he'll have an easy 1 yard line and will turn that run into 8 yards. 1st down. 2:41 to go. Snap to Travis. Looks, about thrown to the back of the end zone, and that is Keon Coleman with the 21-yard touchdown reception on a throw that was only going to get to his man. Jordan Travis just fires it into the back of the end zone and drops it in the bucket, as both quarterbacks have shown outstanding touch so far. And that's just a big example of what it takes when you have been in this offense for 5 years and being able to have this experience and operate the offense at this level. It's just so amazing to see. Florida State now with a 21-17 lead. Rattler fakes the handoff, gets a block, able to run all the way upfield and almost gets 20 yards on that run, and able to put South Carolina back in position on offense to try and retake this lead before halftime. Man in motion for South Carolina. Rattler under center, takes the snap, dumps it off to Trey Knox. He'll only get 5 yards with that one. Rattler and company now face a 2nd and 5, this time from the shotgun. Has his old reliable Juju McDowell in the backfield, who will hand off to, and he will not just take 5, he will take 19 to give South Carolina an imminent threat approaching the 30-yard line. Snap to Rattler from the shotgun, and he finds who else but Antoine Wells Jr., who has absolutely massacred Florida State and has put them into a 1st and goal position. South Carolina now running clock, wanting to see what they can do. Run to Juju McDowell to the outside, and he'll lose 1 yard, as South Carolina should definitely be angling for this to be the last possession of the half. 1 minute to go in the 2nd quarter. 2nd and goal, about the 11-yard line for South Carolina. Under center drop back for Rattler, and he'll find his man Trey Knox in the flats like he has before, and familiarly 5 yards. 3 catches for Trey Knox, but not a lot of explosion. 3rd goal, big play as South Carolina is letting the time run. Definitely just wanting this to be the final possession of the half. Rattler throws out to Trey Knox, and he pushes towards the end zone and will come up about a half yard short. Another 5 yards for Trey Knox, but it will lead to a South Carolina field goal, and they're going to wait to snap this at the very last second, and this will be our final play of the half. And South Carolina puts it through, and they will cut this lead to 1 at the half. What an entertaining game. That's all I got to say. It's fun watching these two teams square off in these offenses. And now let's see how things go as we start the third quarter with South Carolina with the ball in the shotgun, Juju McDowell by his side. Rattler looking, has plenty of time, but he is brought down to start the half by Jared Verse. It looks more like Jared Verse was surprised that Spencer Rattler ran into him. He made such a good move off the outside, and then the sack just happened, and he'll take it there as a guy who struggled to get that production this year. That's nice to see him get a sack. Snap to Rattler on 2nd and 18. Looking and finds Trey Knox in the flats for 2 yards, as that's a familiar play, but has not led to a lot of production. You have to wonder why Rattler is so keen on that. Drop back for Rattler, throws under pressure to Antwan Wells Jr., and just when Florida State thinks that they have got something mounted there, Antwan Wells snatches it from him and says, "Not so fast." First down, South Carolina. Run from Juju McDowell, finds a nice hole for 7 yards. 2nd and 3, and this offense is moving again. I gotta say, I have no idea how this game is gonna go. Both offenses have been so efficient that it's gonna come down to what defense can make a play. And just as I say that, Mr. Anderson makes another huge run for 29 yards. And now it's not just Juju McDowell, it's their whole running game that's looking great. And now it looks like a lot of miscommunication on that play for South Carolina, and that'll be thrown away for 2nd and 10. 7:20 to go in this one. Snap to Rattler, under pressure, finds Eddie Lewis, a guy who's had a nice game, but not quite as prominent as Antwan Wells Jr., but still having a nice game for their leading receiver. Rattler makes a change at the line, looking here on 3rd and 3. Big conversion needed, wanting a touchdown instead of a field goal if possible. Dumps it to Juju McDowell. And those 6 yards are all they need to bring up a 1st and goal from the 5-yard line and a fresh set of downs to try and put this into the end zone. Pistol snap to Rattler, and he'll hand it off to Mario Anderson, who they're going to rule was actually down, not a fumble, so they will get the ball back at the 2-yard line, as that could have been a disastrous turnover, especially in a game like this. Hand off to McDowell this time, and he has worked so hard and deserves a touchdown with how hard he has run in today's game. And those 2-yard run will bring up a 2-point conversion now, 26-21 South Carolina. And that ball had no chance of finding anyone, and the lead will stay at 5 for South Carolina, giving the ball back to Florida State for their first down play. Fakes the handoff to Benson, and this is a new look for Florida State in this game, and Travis is able to work his way upfield for 8 yards with that look. 2nd and 2 now. Benson in the backfield again. This time he hands it off to him, and he will not have enough yards, and now an early 3rd down looms large for Florida State in a game where they are going to need to keep up offensively. They can't afford to give the ball back so early. Handoff to Benson. He has so much room up the middle. Instead of needing the inches, he'll take your 11 yards. And now they move towards that South Carolina logo as they're at the 45-yard line. Run to the outside, following his blocks as he's done so well today. 9 yards for Benson. And Florida State has not been afraid to rely on this run game and just let it carry them when they need to. Handoff to Toafili, and he runs backwards a little bit and loses 1 yard with his run. 3rd and 2 now for Florida State, on the good side of the 50-yard line for him, about the 45, and they're going to hand off to Benson. And these lanes up the middle are just opening up just as much as on the outside, and that's another 10 yards. 2-back look with Toafili and Hill in the backfield. Fakes the handoff to Toafili and dumps it to Hill, who is not going to have a lot of room, but he will get a positive 2 out of that one. Travis runs to the right. He's got plenty of room and not even going to venture a throw. When you have an easy 15 yards, Travis will take that and give Florida State a new set of downs. Deuce span in motion this time. Travis rolls to the right, and he's going to find that motion man, Deuce Span. They had a man caught in between them there who did not make a move towards Travis and did not stay with Span, so he was able to dump it right over his head, and now Span gets them a 1st and goal from the 5. Fakes the handoff to Toafili. Travis finds the end zone for 5 yards and takes a hard hit after he gets into the end zone, and there's going to be no flags thrown in an SEC game like that, and Travis will just have to get up after that one and be satisfied with a 2-point lead after Florida State kicks the extra point. Rattler in the shotgun with Juju McDowell to his right. He'll take the snap. He's got plenty of time. They've given him some good protection, and the receivers rub off of each other in their routes, and that will lead to an incompletion and a 2nd and 10, and now the pressure to keep up stays on South Carolina. They will run with Juju McDowell, and he is stopped for a 3-yard gain. And Florida State has not been consistent, but they have started to key in on the run a little bit more and been able to keep them from running so free against them. Rattler looked a little confused in the pocket with his footwork, but able to make it work and get it off to Eddie Lewis for 26 yards, and that will be a first down, and they will cross the 50. And both of these defenses have put up an admirable effort, but have just not been able to mount a considerable enough effort to provide a resistance. And now South Carolina drops it off to Antwan Wells Jr., a guy that when they need a play has been providing it in all areas for them. 16 yards, and that stat line, 6 catches for 107 yards. Feels like it could be much worse, but South Carolina still looming large and still trailing. All they care about is taking that lead back and not what that stat line looks like. After a 7-yard run from McDowell, Rattler's under center again, this time with Anderson in the backfield. Quick drop, and there is no communication with his receiver on that one. Don't know if he was supposed to go to the flat, but instead it's thrown out of bounds. And a 3rd and 3 with Florida State bringing some men to the line, trying to see if they can key on the run. And they cannot find Rattler as he faked that handoff, and he has been running hard off that read option look, and it's given them some really nice plays when they needed it. 1st and 10 from about the 15, handoff to Anderson, and Anderson will get 9 yards, and that will bring up a 2nd and 1 inside the 5-yard line. Not much time left in the 3rd quarter. Rattler again to Wells from 5 yards out. Give him 3 scores on the day and 10 scores on the season. Antwan Wells Jr. has arrived, and this guy is legit, is definitely going to be playing on Sundays. Now, South Carolina up 4, trying to go up 6 with a 2-point conversion. Looking, and he is brought down by who else but Gilbert Edmond, the former South Carolina defensive end. Gets in on the action, not an official sack since it came on a conversion attempt, but a nice play for the former South Carolina Gamecock. This time on the kickoff, Destin Hill able to bring it past the 50-yard line with a 48-yard return, and this sets Florida State up in prime territory as now they're trying to respond down 4. 2nd and 7 after a Lawrence Toafili run for Travis and company in the shotgun. He's got one man in his backfield, and Travis will roll out to the right, finds Kyle Morlock for about 6 yards, and that will be the final play of the 3rd quarter. This has been an incredible atmosphere and an incredible game. South Carolina up 32-28. It has definitely not been a conventional way of getting to that score for South Carolina, but it's worked so far as they've been led by Antwan Wells Jr., and now the only thing we have left to do is see how it plays out. We have 9 minutes left in the 4th quarter. I'm ready to see the rest of this action. 3rd and 2 Florida State. 5 wide, looking, and he just gets walloped. He just needed a little more time. He had some guys coming open, but now it's a pivotal 4th and 2, down by 4, and no way you're bringing on the punt unit in the 4th quarter in a game like this. Benson in the backfield, handoff, and he is triggered and hit early. Does not even get back to the line of scrimmage. Loses a yard with that run. An absolutely massive play by South Carolina. The linebacker came in unopposed, brought down Benson, who is a load in himself, and now South Carolina not only gets the ball back, but the ball back with nice field position and a chance to really make things difficult. Pass to Eddie Lewis, and he'll take 14 yards with that catch. First play of the drive in plus territory for South Carolina. Easy dump off to Xavier Leggett. He'll use that opportunity to get 10 yards of his own and a new set of downs for South Carolina. And now the clock is their friend as it keeps ticking away, under 8.5 minutes to go. Handoff to McDowell from under center, and that's 9 yards. I don't know if Florida State is going to be able to come up with that big defensive play when they need it. Right now, things are looking quite bleak. You do not want to go down 2 scores, but South Carolina continues to plot ahead with another 2 yards to McDowell. The resistance just is not there right now. Handoff to Antwan Wells this time. Instead of going to the outside with his momentum, turns back upfield and heads up to the middle for 8 yards. And don't want to argue with Antwan Wells at this point with how well he's played. And again, South Carolina is just able to run away from a linebacker who was able to get a free run up the middle, but Anderson makes a wonderful move to get them a nice chunk of yardage and a 1st and goal from the 2. Rattler on the read option. This time he is brought down by the true freshman Blake Nicholson. He'll get a TFL, and now a 2nd and goal from almost the 5-yard line. Handoff to Anderson. He's got room, rumbles into the end zone, and that's a 4-yard score. And South Carolina now up 39-28. Florida State has 6:46 left in the game to try and make something happen. This time a throw to the outside, and that is about the 3rd opportunity that South Carolina has had to make a big defensive play that could have swung the game, and that one probably would have sealed it if they could have made that interception. This time Travis drifts back and gets walloped for a loss of 10 yards on that sack. A 3rd and 20. Huge opportunity here for South Carolina if they can get a stop. Travis throwing deep, and he finds his man, Lawrence Toafili, who was brought down by a shoelace, who I thought was going to make the entire run to the end zone. But he just delivered an amazing throw. When Travis has had time, he has delivered some of the best throws of the year today here in South Carolina. Just drops this one perfectly to Lawrence Toafili, one of their running backs who can kind of be used in a variety of ways, and that time he was in the slot and just put a great move on that defensive back. Next opportunity for Travis and company, 1st and 10. Runs to the outside, buys some time, and hits Kentron Portier for 14 yards. Next play is a handoff to Trey Benson, and those 4 yards will bring up a 2nd and 6. It's a must-score opportunity for Florida State. A field goal is fine, but you know they would prefer to get that touchdown at this point. Travis rolls back out to his left. He's got plenty of room, and he throws it to Deuce Spann. He had a lot of running room, but a lot of faith in Deuce Spann in traffic to throw that ball and get 14 yards and get inside the 5-yard line. About 5 minutes to go, and that is Trey Benson getting dropped for 2 yards. 2nd and goal, time ticking on Florida State in this game. Travis moves up, and he's going to get flushed out. Is he going to get the ball away? And he just barely throws that one away. He was getting rushed from all sides. It did not look good. A sack there would have made things very difficult. But now 3rd and goal from the 5, and he finds on a crossing pattern Destin Hill, his first catch of the game. But it's a meaningful one, as now Florida State has an opportunity with the 2-point attempt to cut this to a 3-point game, and he dishes it off to Keon Coleman on a nice pattern to bring up a 36-39 game, only down 3, but they will need to stop South Carolina if they want any hope in this one. Snap to Rattler. He drifts back, got plenty of protection, and hit his man Trey Knox in the flats. 2nd and 7 after a 3-yard game. Pistol look now for Rattler. Handoff to McDowell. And he's got plenty of room up the middle, and those 11 yards will give South Carolina a 1st down with only 4 minutes to go. Is that stop available for Florida State, and will they take the opportunity if it presents themselves? Shotgun look now after changing up the play. He'll hand off to McDowell. He's got a lot of room to the outside, and Florida State gang tackles on that one, able to drop him for 1 yard. And Kalen DeLoach, the senior linebacker, stepping up there and helping Florida State get a little momentum back and make it feel like this is the drive. They got to make something happen here. Snap to Rattler, scans to the left, and that's Eddie Lewis making a catch in traffic. 3rd and inches now. Florida State, not many more opportunities. This is a big one here. Let's see if they can make the stop. Run up the middle by Anderson, but he is met immediately. Florida State was keyed in on that one. All of their men rushing through, and that was Jerian Jones, the senior corner, able to step through and cackle a guy that has been breaking tackles all day. And now Florida State gets the ball back. 1st and 10, down 3, under 2 minutes to go. Travis looking, tries to find Jaheim Bell, the former South Carolina tight end who had a touchdown earlier for 18. Now it's 1st and 10, minute 48 to go. Travis with the snap. A lot of guys going out. He's throwing deep to Wilson, and he doesn't have him there. He got some hands on it, but that was good defense by the defender, and it's a 2nd and 10. A little bit of an unconventional look where they'll drop off a screen pass to Destin Hill, and he will not be able to go all the way to the corner, but gets out of bounds to stop the clock. Minute 36 to go. 3-point deficit for Florida State. Travis rolling to the right, tries to hit Toafili, and he is knocked senseless with that one. 2nd and 10 now for Florida State. Minute and a half to go. Still plenty of time. Snap to Travis. Looks to the left, but he's got room up the middle when he escapes the pocket. And that will give them a new set of downs and a new set of opportunities to see what they can make happen. They're approaching field goal range and a chance to tie. They should have plenty of chances. The screen pass is not there. It's well covered on Keon Coleman, and they'll just have to give away a pass play there. 2nd and 10 now for Florida State. Making a couple of changes at the line. Travis seeing what he can find. Big opportunity here. 2nd and 10, minute 09. Travis holds back in the pocket, throwing deep to the end zone, and that is Johnny Wilson jumping over his defender, chopping it up, as now Florida State takes back the lead in a wild game that we have seen in South Carolina today, as there is nothing you can do as a defender when you have a guy like Johnny Wilson skying over you at 6'7". In a seesaw game, it is now South Carolina with the ball back, under a minute to go, trying to see what they can make happen as they are down 4 and need a touchdown. that drop off to Trey Knox will get them a first down, and they are in motion. 50 seconds to go. Throw to Eddie Lewis, and they are past the 50-yard line already. Still 3 timeouts, 46 seconds to go. Lot on the line here for South Carolina, trying to stay in the conference race. That's going to be a dump off to Xavier Leggett, and he is hit and fumbles the football, and that is DJ Lundy who comes up with it. What a fantastic play by Florida State. That was just picture perfect. They had one guy stop him and stop his momentum, and then you'll notice that's Fentrell Cypress on this play who stops that momentum, and then Dennis Briggs comes in and gives the secondary hit that knocks the ball free, and DJ Lundy in stride scoops that up and tried to stay on his feet, but just needed to get down, and Florida State is 1 first down away from sealing this one. Trey Benson runs to the outside, gets amazing blocking. He has room. He could go all the way, and no, he is dropped inside the 10. But now Florida State can take 3 knees to finish this one, and here is 1, and now this is 2, and now the 3rd knee that we're all waiting for happens, and Florida State comes out of Williams-Brice Stadium through a fantastic performance from Jordan Travis, 6 total touchdowns, and the look of disappointment on South Carolina's face is totally understandable. It was a great game, but today was just not their day. Wow, what do you guys think of that one? That was one of the more fun games that I've gotten to play this season, and I don't know how much more you can say about Jordan Travis. He played fantastic today. The stat line speaks for itself. A guy like Trey Benson just kept plodding away. A couple of negatives that hurt us, but overall he is so reliable in the run game, and I just wanted to keep feeding him as much as we could. And we had a pretty balanced attack from the run game that I liked. But the thing that was so amazing is we didn't have a lot of quantity in terms of catches, but take a look at the long play for every one of our receivers. That just shows the explosion that was available in our offense. Keon Coleman had a 24-yarder. Jaheim Bell had a 24-yarder. Even Spann and Hill, 15 or 13. 28 yards for Morlock. 37 for Johnny Wilson. 54 for Toafili. These were explosion chunk plays that made the difference, and the offense is really coming around. We're not getting that volume in terms of catches like I talked about, but only 1 drop on the day, and that was from Toafili on a really tough play. But this offense is just really clicking at a fun point. And then on the receiving end, let's give it up for Antoine Wells Jr., who 7 catches, 112 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was immense today, and I really thought that he was single-handedly going to make 1 play and probably beat us on that last drive, so I feel very lucky. And then another guy that I really liked watching today was Juju McDowell. He ran through the holes really hard. He's a smaller guy at 5'9", 180. And then finally, Spencer Rattler. Awesome game from him. No turnovers. They only had 1 sack, and that was a weird Jared Verse play. And I think we're just lucky to get out of that one alive. And I think when we go and look back at this game as well, look how even the game was. First downs are pretty similar. They had us beat by 3 yards rushing. We had them beat by about 20 yards passing. But the only difference you can really see there is the turnover. I fully believe if they don't turn the ball over, they are going to be putting themselves in a position to probably score. They have 45 seconds and 3 timeouts. There was plenty for them to do, and I feel lucky to get out of there, but I think our offense played well enough, and the question going forward is our defense going to be able to do enough to give our offense plenty of opportunities to go out there and beat teams? And it's those kind of questions that make things interesting. Next up on the channel, we'll have a Week 9 recap video, and then we'll get back to our regular games. Go Noles!